Hello, and welcome to a somewhat complete guide to every Burago F1 car that has been produced from the 2023 season and beyond. Today I'll be running through each model for the 2023, 2024, and 2025 seasons, as well as telling you about some of the rarer finds in North America. If you're new to collecting F1 related merch in North America, you may be leaning towards the LEGO F1 sets that were released in with the 2024 spec cars. I own two of these myself, and I love the fact that all of the teams are attainable. However, you may have also noticed these smaller 1 to 43 scale cars at some retail stores. The recent F1 models for the past few years have been up to the standard that you may consider them to be collectibles. They're a perfect answer to the F1 collectible community too, considering the scarcity of F1 cards and their reasonably high price tag. If you're into the model car aspect itself, it's a far cheaper alternative to the high standard Sparky or Mini Champs models. Plus, the added element of special liveries adds an element of rarity to some cars, perfect for those obsessed with having a complete collection. As I have grown my own collection, I found it difficult to compile exactly how many Burago F1 cars are out there, or any sort of concrete checklist. So, this video will break down the 2023 and 2024 Burago releases alongside their rarity in the North American market. Now, I've chosen 2023 and 2024 because those two seasons are the easiest to collect from traditional retailers. This is largely because of the boom that Formula One has had in the North American market in the recent years, and long may it continue running. Before long, the 2025 cars will be on the shelves, and we'll get to that at the end of the video. Before we start, I'd like to point out that most Burago F1 models also have a rarer display model version. Some of these can still be found in stores, and unless I say otherwise, assume that the more expensive helmet versions are indeed out there. Some display case versions are easier to find than others, but as a basic rule of thumb, assume that the display version is one step up for rarity than its base version. It is also worth noting that my biases to rarity are Canadian biases, and this may be different if you're collecting in the States. My local Canadian Tire was actually the first place I can remember seeing these on the shelves a couple of years ago. Without further ado, here are the 2023 Burago F1 cars. If you want to skip to 2024 and you don't care about 2023 because Max just dominated that whole season, feel free to skip to whatever timestamp I put on the screen right now. Okay, so you're into the 2023 stuff. I am too. That's most of my collection. Shout out you guys. I will say there's a lot more variety for this, so you're smart. I like you. The 2023 line of F1 Burago is the most abundant I have found on most shelves. On your average Burago shelf, you'll likely find these common 2023 F1 models. So you have Red Bull's RB19, Ferrari's SF23, Mercedes' W14, McLaren's MCL60, the British Grand Prix edition, and Fernando Alonso's Aston Martin AMR23. We'll start off with the Red Bull here. The RB19 was a very dominant car in 2023 and remains one of my most stocked in most stores I've been to. You'll likely find lots of Max Verstappen models with the occasional Perez here and there. The Ferrari SF23 is also highly stocked, but usually sells quicker than the other cars in this section because of the strong Ferrari fandom. Again, Charles Leclerc is a more common driver to find than Carlos Sainz, but it isn't impossible to find that 55 instead of the 16 on the shelves. Apparently, there's also a version that comes with a separate figurine, but I'm yet to see these in stores, so keep your eyes peeled. The Mercedes W14 is slightly less abundant than the Ferrari and Red Bull, likely because it was one of Mercedes' worst years to date. However, something I've noticed is that when I do see W14s, they're typically George Russell and not Lewis Hamilton. I assume this is because Lewis sells out quicker. Additionally, you can find these W14 2-packs that include both George and Lewis. However, the price tag for these is actually, in most cases where I've seen them, more than if you just bought both of them separately. So if you see a 2-pack and you don't even bother to look at the single ones of the exact same car, you're losing money. Most of the time, like you'll be able to go to a store and it's like $12, and this is Canadian money by the way, but like $12 for like a single W14, but then it's like, I don't know, near 30 for both of them, and it's like we're 25 for both of them. Like, I'm gonna save an extra $1 if I can. So if you can find both of them individually, that's great. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe in other areas they actually price it right, but in my own case, the double packs do seem to be overpriced, but they're an option. Now, the MCL60 the 2023 McLaren, is one of the more weird Burago F1 products, mostly because the most common variant you will find is the one-off chrome livery they ran at the 2023 British Grand Prix. Now, the main reason for this is likely due to sponsorship issues with nicotine sponsors on the base livery like Velo being frowned upon by Burago. It's also worth noting at the start of the 2023 season, the McLaren probably wasn't that great. And if I worked for McLaren and I wanted there to be a toy of my car, I'd rather it be the very car that started this new McLaren dominance era that we started seeing halfway through the 2023 season, instead of the one that was coming, knocked out in Q1. So yes, this car that you're going to see here, the British Grand Prix Chrome livery, finished on the podium with Lando Norris, and it was their first podium at the start of this whole kind of dominance era. They went on to score multiple more after this race in the 2023 season. This car is also available in the same 2-pack style as the W14. Maybe you do this if you want to find Piastri. I usually find that Norris is a lot more abundant for this car, but it's definitely not impossible by any means to find Piastri by itself. And also, this car is frequently seen in much larger packs that we will get to later, so don't feel like you need to absolutely get the single pack for this one if you're thinking about buying bulk options later on. Now, let's get to the AMR 23, which is an absolute beast of a car. Everyone can remember that Bahrain Grand Prix from the start of 2023 where Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso were duking it out through the chicanes. And it's rightfully produced enough to be considered common in stores. Fernando can be found on most shelves, but not his teammate Lance, and I'll get back to that in a second. So this section is what I call the uncommon models, one that aren't necessarily special, but just a little harder to find because stores are less likely to put them on their shelves if they don't have to. These ones are Stroll's AMR 23 and the 2 Alpine A523s. One thing you will likely notice is that the Fernando Alonso AMR 23 is largely more popular than Lance Stroll. Now, I'm Canadian, so it wasn't impossible to find him. However, I did have to bend down to the very bottom row of a Walmart Hot Wheel aisle to do so. So if you're not from Canada, please comment below if you'd be able to find Stroll on your shelves. I know I have, but even in Canada, Stroll is far less abundant than Fernando Alonso, so I'm putting him in the uncommon category. The Alpine in 2023 was actually a decent car, picking up 2 podiums at Monaco and Zandvoort respectively, Monaco being Esteban Ocon and Zandvoort being Pierre Gasly. Now, however, the lack of a major fandom in North America makes Gasly and Ocon slightly harder to find on Burago shelves, and I found that Gasly is slightly more common than his countryman Ocon. So I called this section exclusives because these are cars that can primarily be found in bulk packs of Burago cars instead of the far rarer single pack versions of them. That doesn't necessarily mean they're exclusive to a bulk box. Some of them are, and we'll get to that. Some of these are just a lot easier to find in these bulk boxes, and it'd be a lot of effort to find the single ones, at least in my own experience. It's also worth noting that some of these special edition exclusive liveries, especially if they're only available in a certain bulk box, will not have a helmeted version available because they aren't sold singly. So we will also get to that. These models that I consider to be exclusives are Perez's Vegas RB19, Verstappen's Miami RB19, Sainz's Monza SF23, Leclerc's Vegas SF23, the MCL60 Monaco edition, Norris's Singapore MCL60, and Piastri's Qatar MCL60. Perez's Vegas RB19 can be found in a variant of Costco's bulk Red Bull 6-pack alongside Max's Miami RB19. Finding versions for each of these cars with the other driver isn't impossible, so if you wanted a Perez Miami or a Max Vegas, those are out there, but they're not in any of these bulk packs, which makes these ones slightly more accessible to get. Another thing to note is that if you manage to find Max's Miami RB19's display version, which is available in a single display case like many of the other ones, it actually doesn't have the right helmet. His helmet does not match the one he wore to victory that very day in Miami. Now, I'm not sure if Burago usually includes a custom helmet for these custom livery display editions. Through most of the research I've done, they usually do. So this is kind of a one-off. I wouldn't consider it a misprint, but I think it's a little bit of a lack of foresight on Burago's part. But this is really the only point of criticism I could find while researching for this video overall when it comes to Burago's attention to detail. So I guess that's a positive. Now, Leclerc's Vegas SF23 is slightly rarer than Sainz's Monza SF23 because Sainz can be found in 2 variants of the Ferrari Cosco 6-pack, while Leclerc can only be found in 1. Now, do note, when you look at a Cosco 6-pack of Burago F1 cars, there are other versions of that have been released through the years. There's a version that was released in 2023, there's versions of that were released in 2024. So just keep an eye out for which one that you're grabbing when you do this. Now, of course, they both have their own respective single packs as well. Sainz and Leclerc both found the podium in each of these respective races, and like the Red Bull, there are versions of each of these drivers in opposite cars available in single packs only. So if you wanted Leclerc's Monza SF23, which we'll get to later, or Sainz's Vegas SF23, those are available but not in bulk boxes. Now, unlike the Red Bull, Sainz actually is given his special helmet from the 2023 Monza GP in his display version. I think so, at least. From a distance, it looks pretty much like it should, so that's good. You may have noticed that there are plenty of McLaren MCL60 variants in this exclusive section. Some of them are rarer than others. For starters, both Norris and Piastri's Monaco cars from 2023 are available but in separate exclusive packs. Piastri's can be found in the 2023 McLaren 6-pack and the newer Hobby Pack, which can be difficult to find in stores, while Norris can be found in his own 4-pack, which consists of other cars that will be included in this list. Unlike the other MCL60 exclusive variants you will see, the Monaco editions can be found in singular packs. Unlike the Ferrari and Red Bull, I don't believe there are helmeted display versions for this Monaco livery. The next two are a little more interesting because you cannot find them in singular packs at all, and are actually 100% exclusive to bulk boxes unless they're being passed on by resellers. The first is Norris's MCL60 Singapore livery. This car very closely resembles the base 2024 MCL38 we'll see later, but it is in fact different. This one can also be found in the same 2 6-packs as Piastri's Monaco livery and the same 4-pack with Norris's own Monaco livery. But that is absolutely it, as Burago didn't produce many singles of this car, if at all. I'm not even entirely sure if single packs still exist for this one, if they ever did, and finding a single could save you a pretty penny over buying it among others in a bulk box. This car is also exclusive to Lando Norris, as I haven't found any record of an Oscar Piastri version of this. Norris finished the 2023 Singapore Grand Prix on the podium, which may have been a factor in this one being produced over Piastri. The last absolute exclusive is Piastri's Qatar GP MCL60. Piastri won the sprint race and finished second in the main race. His sprint victory was his first ever victory in Formula 1. This car, like all the McLarens, is missing its Views sponsorship on the side, but it is also the only 2023 car that I can say is 100% exclusive to a box. This box being the 2023 McLaren Cosco box, where you can also find that Norris's Singapore and Piastri's Monaco livery are in there as well. So if you're into collecting the limited edition special liveries, that 2023 box is an absolute goldmine. This also makes that MCL60 Qatar Piastri one of the most expensive to obtain, arguably ranking it as much rarer on this list than I've kind of put it right now. This is because the resale market is going to be your primary place to find these on store shelves. I don't think these are still being sold at most Costco's. They may still like be on your shelves, but I can't confirm that. Now, this is the rare category, and while the previous section may in some cases be equally as hard to find as some of the following, the bulk pack availability made them at least remotely accessible for a time. The following cars are at the point of rarity that I may not have even seen them in stores here in Canada at all at any point. My ratings might be a little subjective here. We're gonna find out. So these include the Sauber C43, Perez's Miami RB19, Verstappen's Vegas RB19, the Austin RB19, Sainz's Vegas SF23, and Leclerc's Monza SF23. We'll start with the Ferraris. Both of these are the swapped teammate versions of the box exclusives mentioned earlier on. These can only be found in their own singular boxes, but are likely less rare than the Red Bull teammate swaps due to the Ferrari bias. However, this may be different in the States, as all of the Red Bull rare liveries are based in the United States. The Miami Perez and Vegas Max can be found in their own individual boxes. I place the Austin GP RB19 as slightly rare overall, as this car for any driver can only be found in their own individual boxes. Additionally, they actually get Max's helmet right in the display version of this one. Finally, the Sauber C43. I have never seen this car on shelves in Canada. I doubt it's available anywhere else, but if so, I'm insanely stupid and have overrated this car. Regardless, I was lucky enough to get my hands on the base version of Valtteri Bottas while I was on vacation in Italy, and both Zhou and Bottas were available while I was there. If you've seen this in stores before, feel free to leave a comment and help move this car down to at least an uncommon rating where it probably should be, but who knows, maybe this car actually is extremely hard and difficult to find. Okay, this is the super secret mythical section. These are cars on the extreme rarity side and may not have ever been sold commercially in North America. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. This is my interpretation. You guys can yell at me later. So the first one is the Sauber C43 Monza livery. It is absolutely beautiful and is probably one of my personal favorites. While it is difficult to measure exactly how much rarer it is than the base C43, it's still very difficult to find. Another extremely rare 2023 model isn't really a 2023 model at all. It's Lewis Hamilton's SF23 filming day car from his first test drive in Ferrari Red after the 2024 season. This was sold way after the end of the SF23's run alongside Ferrari, and the base version of this vehicle comes with Hamilton's helmet. Display versions are also out there, but they're essentially just an added base and display case, as the helmet comes with the base version. Finally, the rarest 2023 Burago I could find is the pink livery edition of the A523 Alpine. This car was primarily, and I think only, released in France, with Pierre Gasly being put in a 2-pack alongside Esteban's podium-placing blue Alpine from Monaco. Ocon's pink was also available in a single pack, but even major retailers do not or never did have this car in stock in North America. This car is also one of the very few 2023 Buragos alongside the McLaren Special Editions to not have helmet display editions. Okay, so now we're into the 2024 lineup of cars. If you sat through 2023, good on you. If you skipped to this point because you don't care, also good on you. But unfortunately, something that you're going to miss in the 2024 season that is available in the 2023 season is the Aston Martin and Sauber. That's right, 2024, Aston Martin and Sauber were not produced. We'll get back to Aston Martin a little bit later in the video about 2025, but let's focus on 2024 right now. Also, just generally for the 2024 season, we have less single box one-off liveries, with more of the one-offs being produced solely for exclusive bulk boxes. So let's get started. Okay, so the most common 2024 models are Red Bull's RB20, Ferrari's SF24, Mercedes' W15, and McLaren's MCL38, specifically the MCL38 Miami livery. It's similar to the British Grand Prix thing that I discussed for the 2023 cars. Yeah, we'll get to that. So the RB20 is one of the more popular finds, and its base box can be differentiated from the RB19 because of its yellow background. Now, the car itself isn't all that different from the RB19, with the only seriously notable changes that I can look at it just from a distance being some different sponsors. The front wing end plates are curved, and there's this lifted section around the engine cover, so if you're into the realism there you go, RB20, that's it right there. So the RB20 brought home 9 wins under this livery in 2024, all belonging to championship winner Max Verstappen. The RB20 can be found in individual boxes and the same 2 packs as the W14 and MCL60 from 2023. Again, these 2 packs aren't always the best cost-wise, so try to find the singulars even if you want both Perez and Max. For those of you who skipped to this point, quick explanation, the double packs of these cars are typically actually more expensive than you just bought them both on their own. Maybe that's different for you, but in my own experience, that's what I've seen, so keep an eye out. Now, the SF24 is characterized by its yellow lines and the new HP sponsorship. 4 of Ferrari's 5 wins from the 2024 season were under this livery, including Leclerc's run to the line in Monaco. Ferrari still sells fairly well with the SF24 and also has that same 2-pack as the RB20. The Mercedes W15 was a better car than the W14, bringing home 4 wins in 2024. This includes Hamilton's final 2 race wins in Mercedes colors at Silverstone and Spa, although he technically finished behind Russell during the Belgian Grand Prix. There was a whole floorboards thing, I think, or tire wear thing, I can't remember anymore. But anyways, Russell got completely docked from that and Hamilton was given the win. Unlike the W14, there is no 2-pack for the W15. The McLaren MCL38 will notably say that it is the Miami GP livery on the box. Now, similarly to the MCL60 from 2023, the absolute base livery from the very first race of the season was not produced by Burago. This race-specific one, like the 2023 British Grand Prix, was McLaren's mass-produced model for 2024. However, the Miami livery isn't all that different, with some simple sponsor changes in some spots. I think on the rear wing side plate drop box has been added, but that's pretty much the only thing I've been able to find. The Miami GP was Lando Norris's first Grand Prix win in Formula One. Similarly to how the 2023 British Grand Prix was the start of McLaren's return to the front end of the field, the 2024 Miami Grand Prix was McLaren's solidification of their newfound dominance. This car also has a 2-pack available, and even a rarer version that comes with figurines of their respective drivers. Now that finishes up for the common section here, and another thing to note is that each of these common 2024 cars also have their very own pit box set that you may have seen in stores. If these pit box sets appeal to you, I highly recommend trying to find the bulk double pit packs that you can find at stores like Costco instead of the singular pit packs. I cannot stress this enough. This is pretty much because the price is virtually the same, and you get an extra car as well in the bulk pack. So it's, you have option A, which is just 1 pit box, or for the same price you can get 2 pit boxes who are teammates. It doesn't really make sense that you need 2 pit spaces for 2 pit boxes. I'm not one to judge. And you get a special one-off livery car. So if you got a Costco nearby, I would check them out first before you decide to splurge on one of these pit box individual sets. Here is the uncommon section. Now, the only car I can classify as simply uncommon is the Alpine A524, but there's a whole bunch of lore behind this one. So there are actually 2 separate versions of the A524 that you can find on shelves because the team actually ran 2 different liveries for most of the season. So there is a pink-nosed livery that was run in 7 races in 2024, while the blue-nosed edition would run at 11 races. The remaining 6 were all raced in special one-off liveries or their full pink in the final 3 races. Now, if you Google the A524, it will say that the pink-nosed version was also run in Sao Paulo, but this isn't true. The Sao Paulo GP had this extra pink section on the nose, which ironically means that Alpine's best finish of the 2024 season was snubbed of any Burago representation. Instead, the best finishes you can get for the 2 available cars would be the double points finish in Canada under the blue nose livery, or their double points finish in the following race at Barcelona under the pink nose. By the way, I did research into this. It's not even like a pattern for when they decide to do blue nose or red nose by the end of the season. Like, it makes sense at the start. The first 3 races are pink nose, then the next 6 are blue nose. And then from there, it gets really like flip-floppy. Like, they're running red in Belgium, and then they're running blue, and then they're running pink, and then they go back to blue, and then they run orange in the United States, and then they go back to pink. I don't think there was a stretch in there for 7 races where they never ran the same livery twice in a row. I don't know what Alpine was doing, but nobody noticed because they were at the back of the grid anyway. Anyway, I'm unsure if one version is rarer than the other, but overall the Alpine A524 can only be found in their own individual base and display boxes, and that is all. They are not included in any bulk packages. Now let's get into the exclusives for the 2024 season. If you skip to 2024, essentially the exclusives are just any card that is more likely to be found in a bulk box rather than its individual box. That doesn't mean the individual box doesn't exist. It just means that it's far more difficult. I still encourage you to try to find the individual ones if you can, because they may be cheaper. Maybe not, I don't know. Let's look at the Pit Pack exclusives that can be found in the Costco double packs, and these include Leclerc's Miami SF24, Norris's Monaco MCL 38, Max's Silverstone RB20, and Hamilton's Singapore W15. Do note that the Pit Pack versions will not include helmets, but in some cases, helmeted versions can be found in their own display boxes, separate from these bulk pit boxes. So the Miami SF24 for Leclerc and Norris's Monaco MCL 38 are the two slightly more common Pit Pack exclusives, as they can also be found in the McLaren and Ferrari 2024 team packs. Leclerc found the podium in the 2024 Grand Prix, while Norris finished 4th in Monaco. Max's RB20 also has single packs, but its display version doesn't have a driver helmet. It's also worth noting that this car is not available with Sergio Perez under any means, with Max being the only one produced. Max finished 2nd at the British Grand Prix behind Lewis Hamilton. Unlike the other three Pit Pack exclusives, Hamilton's 2024 Singapore livery can only be found in the Mercedes Pit Double Pack, making it legitimately exclusive to the box. There is no helmet version or any variation of George Russell in this car, and ironically, George actually finished a higher P4 in the Grand Prix while Hamilton finished P6. The fact that it is 100% exclusive means that you should take advantage of the fact that these double pit boxes are still on shelves. They cost the same as the single pit boxes, and you get this fully limited car. Now, the next 4 exclusives are primarily found in their new respective Team 6 packs. For Ferrari, Leclerc's Monza SF24 and Sainz's Miami SF24 are largely exclusive to the new 2024 Ferrari 6-pack. Both can be found in singles as well, but this can be very difficult to do. As for the cars themselves, Leclerc won at Monza with this very livery, meanwhile Sainz finished 5th at Miami. For McLaren, their new 2024 6-pack comes with 3 special liveries, 2 of which are entirely exclusive to the box. The non-entirely exclusive one is Piastri's Monaco GP livery, where he picked up a strong P2 result. This car can also be found in single packs. The 100% exclusive ones are Piastri's 2024 Singapore Grand Prix livery and Lando Norris's Austin Grand Prix livery. So, for Piastri, he finished 3rd in his own race behind race winner Lando Norris. Despite Lando's achievement, Piastri was the only McLaren produced for the Singapore Grand Prix. As for the chrome livery, it is sometimes confused with the base chrome livery of the MCL 60 from a distance, but it is in fact different. Lando finished 4th in that Austin GP, just under a second behind Max Verstappen. This means that 2 Singapore 2024 liveries, being Oscar Piastri and Lewis Hamilton, and Lando's Austin livery are the only cars that can only be found in bulk boxes. This also means helmeted display versions are unavailable. The 2024 lineup of Burago F1 cars only has one special livery car that cannot be found in the easier to find bulk boxes. This car is Sainz's SF24 from Monza. Overshadowed by his teammates' victory, Sainz's version of the SF24 Monza livery was snubbed from being placed in any bulk boxes, meaning that the singular base and display boxes are the only way to find this one. Now, while the display box can be found easily online, I've actually been struggling to find the base version, so it actually seems like a more difficult find. Likely because of the whole Burago partnership deal with Ferrari that was made to sell this specific edition of the car. Sainz also only finished 4th in the real race in Monza. I'd like to quickly touch on the 2025 Burago lineup for those of you who are interested in collecting them. I am yet to see these on shelves, but apparently some people are finding ways to get their hands on them online. Essentially, the cars that have 100% been confirmed as options for the now completed 2025 season is Red Bull's RB21, the Ferrari SF25, Mercedes W16, Alpine A525, and McLaren MCL39. Burago also doesn't have this next one on their website yet, but the AMR25 is likely getting a return to the Burago lineup after their 2024 hiatus, as several mockups are available online through some reputable sellers. Additionally, 2 special liveries have been confirmed, with the SF25's Miami livery and the absolute beauty that is Red Bull's white RB21 livery that they ran at the Japanese Grand Prix. Some other things to look out for with these models is that this will be Kimi Antonelli, Yuki Tsunoda, and Franco Colapinto's first Burago 1/43 scale models. Because of driver moves, Perez, Sainz, and Ocon have been snubbed of their usual Burago status due to their team changes. This is also your first real opportunity to get a proper look at Lewis Hamilton in his own actual Ferrari. Of course, that SF23 version that we discussed earlier in the 2023 section is out there, but yeah, if you want an actual car that he raced, this is going to be the year.